Hi guys, I'm back again. This time I won't be saying period anymore. I'm just doing the hand motions because you can't see them. But yeah, so I found another fan fiction, but this time it's about Lance. Okay, so it's not Keith being depressed, it is Lance being deaf. So yeah, I picked the oddballs, okay? The story is called I'm Not Listening, a sign language klance fanfiction. I give credit to the author of this story, and maybe this person never actually wrote the story, and they just, put whatever. But anyways, I don't know anymore. I'm giving credit to the person named Canon Ship Princess. I might write that down in the description if I can remember by the end of this. Yeah. Voltron AU, small town, 1970s, retro era. Keith Granite, Lance Carter, instead of Lance McCrane and Keith Gunderman. Lance is tired of constantly feeling alone in his own world, in his own home. Well, yeah. Keith just wants someone to fix his parents. The foreclosed house across the street is suddenly sold, and that Friday night, Mr. and Mrs. Granite invite the new neighbors over for dinner. Keith invites the Carter family in. Everything seems normal, but when he meets their son, Keith realizes that, like his parents, Lance is deaf. Family matters, am I right? So let's get into this. 37 parts, by the way, so I'm going to read all 37 parts. It might be 1 hour, 2 hours. You're going to have to sit here with me. I'm going to pause it until it's done. Okay, so it's done loading. Capital D. That is the greatest head titling I've ever seen. Most of it's like first day of school, the vampires awaken, the book of choice. But capital D, that is amazing. I'm not downsizing it. I'm like, that is great, because it's not so explanatory. It's just capital D. If you read the subtitling, you wanting the caption, you're wanting to read it anyway. So anyways, let's get into it. And Keith curses a fair amount because he can get away with it. I can censor it in later chapters if you guys did. Okay. That's just author note. Keith curses a fair amount because he can get away with it. Keith's eyes open into the dark of his room before checking his alarm clock. 6:27 a.m. For lunch. Well, you're gonna see it anyway, so fuck. He lifted the curtains that covered the window above his bed, standing to see the sky was lightening to a dull gray sunrise, more than a half hour away. He sat up and grumbled, pushing himself off and reached for his door. The lights were on in the house, leading to the kitchen. He opened the door completely, his room at the top of the stairs. His parents slept on the first floor of the house, giving him the entirety of the upstairs, but it didn't matter how much room he had if he couldn't sleep. It appeared that Miss Grant was already awake. Keith flickered the lights to get her attention. She looked around. "Morning," she signed. I don't know how to do morning in sign language, so yeah. Keith rubbed his eyes with the side of his fist. "Mom," she signaled, touching the thumb of his open hand to the chin. "What are you doing?" She looked at him, putting away the dishes. Okay, so I'm guessing the quotation marks is them talking in sign language, but whatever. I'm not going to do sign language because then you'd be confused, and then, yeah. Keith looked from her face to the cupboard and back at her, trying to explain that he wasn't asking why she had a need to do it at 6:27 in the morning. I get up at 6 in the morning. Why are you complaining about 6:27? I'm trying to sleep, for one. Okay, whatever. She waved him off, annoyed. You know you could thank me for doing your work? Wow. Keith frowned. Yeah, I'll thank you. Thank you at 7. Miss Grant narrowed her eyes at the back of her retreating son's head, but ignored his morning irritability. She stomped on the linoleum floor to get his attention back. What? He asked out loud before struggling. Good morning. She signed again, punctuating her signs by making the motion sharply. Keith yawned. Yeah, good morning, he grumbled, signing yes and same before retreating back upstairs and putting what? Why would he say that? In fact, putting away the dishes, he whispered. After deciding that he wasn't going to sleep anymore, Keith turned off his alarm clock and grabbed a set of clothes. I don't think you can hear me anymore. Walking to his bedroom, that was loud, to take a shower. Then he returned to the kitchen. His father was sitting eating toast and reading the paper. Keith poured himself a cup of coffee and pushed down 2 slices of bread. He leaned back against the counter and took a sip. His father set down his newspaper and looked up at him. How did you sleep? Not good. He sighed with his left hand not holding the mug. Mom woke me up. She was doing stuff. He waved off Keith's response. You were listening to your music until midnight. Did you ever sleep? Keith rolled his eyes. Yeah, Dad. How did he know he was listening to music if he's deaf? Whatever. I'm not gonna question it. Yeah, Dad. I just like to play music when I study. It was a lie. He was what? Well, that I'm going to put a thingy. Wait, what is this for? Yeah. Oh, yay! Okay, I'm diddly-daddling. I am going to mark out that so if there's don't worry about what I'm doing at this moment. Yeah, so I'm gonna mark that out until later. Anyways, don't read that part. Anyways, it keeps your mother awake, and Lord knows how she is when she can't sleep. I'm confused. Are they deaf? Are they blind? Are they both? I don't understand anymore. Like, if they're deaf, they couldn't hear the music or whatever he was doing, for one. And 2, well, I could get away with a lot of things. I'll turn it down, Keith yelled, speaking clearly to his father. Could read his lips as he used his hands to set his coffee down and grab the toast. Miss Grant walked in. Keith, your music was loud last night. Keith took a deep breath in annoyance. I know, he shouted, nodding violently. My gosh, this mom just walks in and says the same thing his dad did. Wow. Well, being a great mom. Keith knew that his parents could feel his music when he played it too loud. They may have been deaf, but they had always been. It was normal. And though it had its advantages, it also had its disadvantages. Nothing got past them. He left the kitchen to pick up his bag. Why don't you just get earbuds, man? Question mark. And slipped on the jacket. He popped his head into the kitchen doorway. After school, can I take the car to meet my some friends? So I'm guessing that Pidge, Hunk, Laura, Shiro, and Karan are in the story somewhere. So I'm guessing it's the friends. His parents looked at each other. Miss Grant snapped her fingers in memories. I invited the neighbors across the street to dinner tonight. Mr. Grant nodded. Right. Keith dropped his shoulders. Do I have to come? He asked, signing me need come dinner. His mother looked at him. Yes, the family across the street, they have a son. He starts at your school. Keith nodded and agreed. Fine, fine. He stepped out, shutting the door before leaning on it. He cursed. The only thing worse than living in a small town was new people coming into a small town. Now everything was going to be weird for a week, and for the first time in the year, someone would live across the street again. So I'm guessing that this house across the street from Keith is haunted if no one's gonna live in there. Or the neighbors, Lance's people, are just rich. Maybe this house is worth a lot of money, you know? Like, there's a lot of possibilities. Anyways, Keith walked the mile to school, listening to the cassette player clipping on his belt under his jacket. Being early to school wasn't something that Keith was used to. The lawn and front steps of his school was specked with other students talking and laughing. Keith made his way through the front doors, to his locker, hanging his headphones around his neck before unpacking his lunch and other stuff from his bag into his locker. So why did you need to take a bag to school when you can just leave your junk in your locker and go to school early to do your homework? Question mark. Anyways, back to whatever I was doing. He put his headphones back on and locked the closet. Closed the locker door to see his friends, Kayla, leaning on the other side. I'm guessing, okay, so there's not going to be the right names and wrong names. So I'm guessing either Kayla could be a new person in this, or it's a Paige, or it's a Laura, but that's just my thing. Good morning, Keith. He held his hand up and turned and stepped over so they could walk to homeroom. I said, good morning, Keith. That was loud. She shouted through his headphones. He pulled them off. I was gonna say, no. I'm not playing this game again. Good morning, Kayla, he grumbled inside. My mom already bothered me until I said good morning back at 6:20 in the morning, after she practically slammed dishes around the kitchen. She doesn't shut up sometimes. Well, now she's invited over the new neighbors. Kayla frowned as they walked around the corner and stopped at the waterfront. I mean, she doesn't talk somehow. How could she shut up? No offense meant. Keith took a drink and looked up. My parents are deaf with a capital D. They don't believe in conforming to hearing culture. It's a deaf thing. They use physical phrases like I said and did you hear about the new family across the street? Let's fucking invite them to dinner because our son could never have plans on a Friday night. Kayla frowned. So you're not coming to Joe's tonight? Okay, Joe just popped out of nowhere. Joe needs to come in the story later, not like, hey, Joe's here. Keith rolled his eyes. Apparently not. Sorry. Kayla shrugged. It's not my fault. Shrugged. It's fine. Join us another time. She nudged Keith's arm. When you hear that, that's just a no. That means I'm pausing to take an air breather. Hey, look, office window. It's the new guy. She waved. The new guy looked at Keith but didn't move. Keith This is what you get when you're like at the end of the story and you try to flip for more and you're not even finished. The new guy. Keith nodded awkwardly and kept walking. Well, he seems like an ass. Kayla laughed. Maybe you'll be best friends after dinner tonight. Keith took his seat. Don't even joke about that. Another author's note. First chapter. First chapter. Do you guys want me to include the pictures of some of the sign languages I used at the end of each chapter? As some of you may know, I use American Sign Language and grew up with it. So if anyone is interested, I'll add the sign language. Okay. So she might be deaf, or her people might be deaf, but whatever. Sign for annoying. Period. Ass. Fuck. Well, fuck. Am I too loud? Am I too low? People? You probably didn't hear me anyways. Sign for annoying. Keith didn't see the new kid again until lunch. After sitting down, he looked around. Keith didn't exactly sit with a coolest gang of kids, but he noticed that the new kid was sitting alone, reading at one of the tables towards the back of the cafeteria. Keith ignored him. He was reading a book. He was fine alone. The end of the day arrived with the final bell. Keith closed his locker door to find Kayla leaning against the door again. Jesus Christ, Kayla, you scared the shit out of me. How do you always get here? She shrugs. My locker is only down the hallway, Down the hall, Keith pinched the bridge of his nose, like, I don't care. Anyways, trying to relieve his ever-growing headache. Right. He sighed and turned on his heels to walk toward the front with Kayla. She skipped up to more matches strides. So, did you meet the new kid? Keith shrugged. Don't need to dinner, remember? Keith ignored his response. His name is Lance. He's really quiet. Looks like he's got a girlfriend too or something. Okay, so I don't think he has a girlfriend. I'm guessing it is a person that walks around with him all day, saying it's. If some people don't know what he's saying, she will just say it for him. Two or something. She adjusted her backpack straps as they descended the front steps of the school. Two new kids? She shook her head. This town's going mad, I swear. Keith thought maybe, or it's his sister. Keith has sisters, I think. I don't know. Keith thought about the classes he had with the Lance kid. He thought in science. 3 classes. What? Kayla asked. I have 3 classes with them. He sat in the back, didn't say a thing. I didn't pay any attention to him. You don't pay attention in class anyways, Kayla remarked. Keith thought. before speaking. He never introduced himself to the class. That's kind of weird. Maybe, Keith shrugged. See you Monday then? Keith broke his train of thought. What? Oh, yeah. Have fun at Joe's with the gang. He pulled out the Walkman from his bag and turned up the volume. Keith walked down to the den where his mother was watching TV with the captions on. Something was in the oven already. It smelled good, not burned. What happened often when she did not see the flashing lights of the timer go off. Mom, she turned off the TV and looked up to him. I'm going upstairs to do homework. Need anything first? She smiled and shook her head. The Carter. See, Lance Carter. I didn't know his last name. I can't remember names. It's coming at 6. Keith took a deep breath and nodded. He waved and strode up the stairs to his room as his mother turned the TV back on. So you turned off the TV for like a minute and you turned it back on. I would have just paused it. Keith was going to set his alarm to wake him up at 5:30 so he could get a little over an hour of sleep before the annoying task of interpreting for his parents began. For the most part, Keith didn't care that his parents were deaf, but he hated how stupid some people were, and he hated even more how to interpret things at the grocery store for his mother, or sitting in at every parent-teacher conference just because the school district was too small and stupid to have a interpreter. It was Keith's job to be their teenage son, not their interpreter. Stupid town, stupid deafness, stupid life. Stupid, boring life. You have a gang of people and you're calling life stupid. Wow. You got 7 minutes. Keith woke up to see his clock read 5:32. The light above his door was flashing and the doorbell rang. He groaned. Ugh. It takes 6 minutes just to cross the street. And he already there. The doorbell opened and closed. The front door opened and closed, but the house remained silent, probably a package or something. The Carters weren't due for another couple of minutes, but when he heard footsteps in the kitchen and faint laughter, he was going to have to interpret to make this less awkward. He sat up and paused before finding his thoughts interpreted by a knock on the door. He prepared himself for some lecture by his mom about being polite and greeting the guest, or being on time, or like that. Mom, I'll be right there, he shouted out loud, stomping on the floor once so she knew that was him. He swung the door. Mom, Keith didn't recognize the figure in front of him, and still pointing at her, he dropped his hand. It was the new kid. Hey, so I'm the new kid. He stared at him. Sorry. I'm going to pause until I find my The boy pointed. Oh, never mind. He stared at him and shrugged. What? The boy pointed to his shoulder and turned slightly, showing the entrance to the kitchen below the stairs. Yeah, okay. He stared at the intruder a moment longer. You're always staring. Why don't you just say something? Keith frowned. Why don't you just sign something? What? Keith said. Asked aloud. There was a second of silence, and then watched him point at his ears and cast out a hand to say, duh. No fucking way, Keith said. You're deaf? The other teen frowned. And you're an idiot? You're an idiot. It's not all about hearing. Lance walked into the kitchen, having retrieved Keith. Mrs. Carter hugged him and welcomed and shook his hand with shook hands with Mr. Carter. Miss Grant spoke out loud. Her husband interpreting. It's just a wonderful. It's just so wonderful that you can go to school with Lance. I heard that you were on the track team. Lance is considering joining, but the district won't cover the interpreter to come to practice. Keith listened and tried not to interrupt. Wait, the school doesn't have an interpreter? He thought of all the times that he had to skip playing outside with friends because he needed interpreted the stupid PTA meetings at school. Miss Grant interpreted. Miss Grant interpreted. Marissa is a college student hired by the district to be the interpreter for Lance. Keith noted Lance's name with an L in the motion for death. His name was a K. By his eye, he disliked the similarities in their names. I'll give him a better name later, Keith thought. Nice, Keith said out loud, sounding nice as well. They all sat down and started dinner. So now 3 people we know are deaf. Period. As appreciated, Mrs. Carter and Mr. Grant had the most to say. Keith and Lance sat at the ends of the table awkwardly. Keith pushed green beans across his plate before looking back up to see their fathers had finally begun talking about sports, which seemed like a good sign. Period. This is the second time, okay? I'm doing great. Lance, do you want to say a few words about your last team? Mr. Carter asked. Keith raised his eyebrow and looked up from his plate. Sorry, wasn't looking. It's all good. What do you think about joining the track team, Mr. Okay, so last time I checked, it was Carter, not Carson. Mr. Carson is one of the team sponsors. Lance smiled politely. Oh, well, I was captain. It was a really great team. We came in first at states. The team was very close, and I learned a lot from them as fellow athletes, but also as friends. Mr. Grant nodded and expressed enthusiasm after Lance joining. Not happening. Keith hit the table to get their attention. So, Lance, you went to Patriotsman? They were first at states, but I never saw you there. He challenged. Oh my gosh, Keith! Why? Why do you do this? Okay. After this chapter, I'm gonna end it. Because Keith is on my nerves right now. I'm going to make another that video, and then I'm going, yeah. Anyways, there was no way Keith was playing ASL charters at practice. He was in line to be captain next year, his junior year, and now was not the time for competition. Did Marissa help you? all attention was on Lance. Oh my gosh. I would have whacked Keith. Okay, I would have whacked him. Now that Keith's table pound got everyone in the conversation, Lance sensed Keith aired intolerance before more than their parents. Play nice, he thought. No, actually, Riverview. It was a private school. We won the private school division at states. Keith found cocky bastard. Baster. Period. He cleared his throat. Well, that's really great, even if there were only a dozen private schools. 136 in the division, actually. Really? Well, that's amazing. There are 764 public schools like us. How did your team do? Mr. Grant proudly answered, "Fourth in district. Almost made it to states. Keith was our top runner last year." "This year too," Keith added. Mr. Grant beamed. "Right. Not to boast or anything." Lance raised his eyebrows and signed with one hand. "No, don't worry. You're not." Oh! Well, then here you go. If you get, oh my gosh, if you get somebody's bad side, they're gonna target you. He smirked and took a sip of water. Went, whoop. Both boys lost track of the conversation and finished their dinner. Keith helped clean plates. Miss Grant offered the Carters a cup of coffee, which they accepted, all except Lance. Mrs. Carter turned to Keith. "Why don't you show Lance your record collection? You like similar music." Keith tried not to roll his eyes. "Yeah, great," he sighed. "Now that's the perfect time to deter Lance from joining the team. His territory." "Oh, that's territory, not tier." Keith closed the door. Lance crossed his arms. They said nothing for a second. "Here, they're mostly for my dad. I get a new record for my birthday and Christmas every year since I was 7, so some of them are shit albums, and it's not like I said still listen to them." Lance raised an eyebrow in question before reaching up to adjust something behind his ears. Keith said, "Sit down." "What are you doing?" Lance stared aside and burrowed his brow as if it's that Keith was the dumbest person alive. "Hearing aids for a reason." "Well, are you turning them on or off?" "On." "Why don't you keep them on all the time?" "I usually do." "Well, then why would you ever turn them off?" "If my parents would ever dare to try something like that would positively help thee. I turned them off earlier because you were bothering me." "Welp." Keith's shoulders dropped. "Low blow, man." Keith shrugged. "Not nearly as bad as trying to talk to a deaf person when you know sign language perfectly well," and Keith covered his eyes with one hand. "Not listening," he signed with the other. He turned around and set the record on the turntable and dropped the needle, staring at Lance as he turned it up. "Can you hear this?" "Yes, but we should know you should know something." "Yeah, what?" "Sometimes it's not about hearing, it's about feeling." Okay. So I'm going to end it here, and then I'm going to find Camp Voltron, and I'm going to do that one, but so yeah, I'll see y'all later.